I'm David Levin, and welcome to another honorable episode of Pop Goes the Culture, the behind-the-scenes anecdotes of your favorite shows from the people who were there. Today, my conversation continues with Shirley Jones, a.k.a. Shirley Partridge, of TV's The Partridge Family. Today, we talk about her charity, her park, how she met the love of her life, the musicals she's worked on, including The Music Man, working with Robert Preston, Oklahoma, working with Rogers and Hammerstein, all that, and the best How I Got Discovered story I've ever heard. You've done many other things besides The Partridge Family, and I would love to talk about some of your other work. I also want to talk to you about your charity, because I know that's very important to you. Tell me about that.
Talking about my park? Is that what you mean? Yes, my park. Yes. My husband and I have a park in a little town called Fawnskin, California, which is up in the San Bernardino Mountains. And I've had a house there for over 30 years. And I love it because I love the seasons, I love the mountains, and it's a charming little town. And the whole center of town was for sale. And, you know, it's one of those little places that's hard to keep a business going, hard to keep a restaurant going. And, you know, we just didn't want to see sort of a McDonald's or, you know, one of a Jiffy Lube or something come in there because it's so beautiful. We wanted to keep it the way it was. So we bought the land and we made a park out of it. And, you know, it's our own little project. It's about 2 acres right in the center of town. And, of course, now we're trying to finance it. It's a corporation, of course, and we're trying to raise money, naturally, so that for people to really help us, because the Fawnskin, the people that live in Fawnskin, they only have about 400 residents there all the time. But, obviously, there's tourists that come in and out all the time, and now it's kind of, I mean, everybody says, oh, what you've done for the town. Oh, it's so beautiful, and it is. We've got stone tables, and the lovely thing is that we built a stage. And we're going to have summer concerts there. So, matter of fact, in May 28th, may be our first summer concert this coming May, and we're looking forward to it. But we need money, so we're trying to raise money, as you can well imagine. I mean, it's not an easy thing to take on. You know.
You got a website or something? Or?
Yeah, we do, and we're trying to do it through that and through some, you know. So we've had some lovely, some of the actors and some people that really care about the environment have chipped in and helped us, which has been very nice, you know.
That's nice. It'd be great to see some concerts up there.
Yes,
How far is that from here?
It's 2 hours door to door, exactly, and it's actually going to be less because they're putting new roads in, and you'll be able to go right from the valley all the way up the mountain. So it's going to be, yeah.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I have 13 acres there, and have had for a long time.
Very nice.
So I love it.
Nice refuge.
It is for me. You know, I'm a small town girl, so I love that little area, and I love, as I said, the seasons. There's snow there now. I was a big skier when I bought there, and I love the skiing, you know, and the beautiful lake in the summertime with the boats and everything. So it's a great place.
Well, your small town girl line gives me a great segue into some of the movies that you've made.
Right.
And a couple of my favorites. And I'll ask about some of my favorites, and then you can tell me about some of yours if those aren't included.
Okay.
But I'd love to talk about The Music Man.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's just a great film. I had such a good time because Robert Preston, as you know, had done it on the stage for about 3 years, I think. Before he came to do the movie. And he was such a wonderful actor and a wonderful guy that I was so impressed with the fact that, you know, he came after doing it for 3 years and came on the set, and he didn't do one of those things of saying, oh, well, we did it this way and we must do it this way, and he never did any of that. I mean, it was like he was doing it for the first time. So that was exciting, and he was great to work with. And Anna White was our choreographer. She passed away just about 6-8 months ago, and a wonderful, wonderful gal, you know. And I remember, you know, I was not really a dancer. I was a singer. And I had, of course, studied dancing, but I didn't consider myself a dancer by a long shot. And so I remember on the set of the first, you know, when you do a movie musical, you have to pre-rehearse all of the numbers as you would for the stage, and weeks ahead. And so we were on the set about to rehearse the Marion the Librarian number, you know, where we go up and down the stairs and all that, dance around. And I said to Anna, who was very forthright on it. I mean, she didn't mince words by a long shot. I said, Anna, I just have to say, I said, you know, you do know that I'm not really a dancer. And she kind of put her hands on her hips and she said, my dear, by the end of this movie, you will be a damn dancer. And sure enough,
Wow.
yeah, I know. She was great. She was so great. And, you know, she was a big help to me. And so from that standpoint, it was great. But we had Buddy Hackett, you know, and wonderful people, you know. I mean, it was so Paul Ford and a great, great cast. And
Ronnie Howard.
And little Ronnie Howard playing my brother. Absolutely, absolutely. He was great in that. And the interesting thing is I was pregnant, you know, all during that. Yeah, speaking of pregnancy, we did earlier. And that was not easy for me.
Which one of your children?
Patrick, my middle son. And the interesting thing is, I tell this story now all the time because I'm still doing concerts all over the country, and I tell the story on the stage when I'm talking about making The Music Man. But it took about 9 months to make, you know, the motion picture, and about 3 months into filming, I discovered that I was pregnant, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I took the director to lunch, told him what had happened, and he said, well, don't worry, Shirley, we'll do everything we can to help you. You know, we'll build a corset, and we'll pull you in, we'll add bows and flout, whatever. And he said, if need be, we'll just shoot you from the waist up. But he said, don't tell anybody. Well, this was not going to be easy for me. I said, all right, I would comply with his wishes. And toward the end of the shoot, the very end of the shoot, we had the one and only love scene in The Music Man, if you remember the beautiful footbridge scene where we sing the ballad and have the one and only screen kiss in the film. Well, I was very pregnant at that point in time. And Bob Preston and I are standing with our arms around each other, eyes closed, all ready for that great big kiss. And all of a sudden, Bob opened his eyes and he stepped back and he said, what the heck was that? I said, that was Patrick Cassidy.
Got a little kick.
A little kick he got. And the interesting thing is that Patrick, who is a singer and an actor, matter of fact, he's on the road right now as we speak, doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for a year. But he was obviously eager to meet the great Robert Preston, you know. And they happened to be doing a benefit in New York together, and Patrick went and he knocked on the dressing room door, and Bob opened the door and he said, oh, Mr. Preston, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to meet you. My name is Patrick Cassidy. And with that, Bob stepped back 3 steps and he said, I know, we've already met. So it was an ordeal, to say the least. But I had a great time. I loved the role.
That's hilarious. Mm-hmm. How about Oklahoma?
Well, that was the first one, you know, my very first film. I was only 18. Yeah, right out of high school. You know, I was on my way to college. And I wanted to be a veterinarian, and I was always able to sing. Of course, it was a gift, but I had mixed emotions about whether I wanted to do it as a full-time job. And this was July. I was going to college in the fall, and my parents and I went to New York City for a summer holiday. I'm an only child, so we made that our holiday every year. And I knew a pianist there that I'd worked with at the Pittsburgh Playhouse, which is where I went to in the summers. I'd go to study drama and singing and whatnot. And I went up, called him, and we were singing. And he said, listen, Rogers and Hammerstein, as casting director, is having open auditions today for anybody that wants to sing. They had, I believe, 3 or 4 shows running on Broadway at that time. And their shows ran so long, they had to keep replacing the chorus people all the time. So they would hold open auditions, you know, maybe every couple of weeks. And he said, why don't you go down and sing for him? I said, oh, I've never been to a professional audition of any kind. I was 18 years old. I wouldn't know what to do. He said, oh, come on, just see what happens. Well, I did. Went to the audition, and the casting director said, could I wait a few moments? Richard Rogers just happened to be across the street rehearsing his orchestra for Oklahoma, which was about to open at City Center and then go out on another road tour. And he had a policy of absolutely, you know, having all the tempos perfect. He was, you know, and so he would rehearse every orchestra that went out on the road. He said, I want him to hear you personally. Well, he came in. I sang for Richard Rogers. And he said, could you wait 30 minutes? I'm going to call my partner, Oscar Hammerstein, at home and have him come and hear you. My first audition. And my pianist said, Shirley, I'm sorry about this, but I have an airplane to catch. It was some kind of holiday. And he said, I can't wait with you. Oscar arrived, and he said, you know the score of Oklahoma? And I said, well, I think I know the music, but I don't know the words. And, of course, I'm talking to the lyricist. He said, well, I happen to have a score with me. And he said, we have a full orchestra across the street. It was the City Center Symphony Orchestra. Will you come over and sing a few things from Oklahoma with the symphony orchestra? Now, my first audition, I'd never seen a symphony, heard a symphony, let alone sing with one. These two men took me across the street, shaking, but I was so young, so naive, I thought, oh, well, maybe this is the way this works. Maybe this happens to everybody, you know. I got on the stage holding the score in front of my face, and I sang 3 songs with the City Center Symphony. And within the next 2 weeks, I was in the chorus of South Pacific on Broadway, and within that very year, I was starring in the major motion picture Oklahoma.
Well,
Amazing.
that's the way it works.
Really, I mean, it's a most amazing story.
Holy cow.
I know. It's when I tell the story, you know, people just can't quite believe it. And all the young people today said, "You think that could happen today?" And I said, "You know, I'm not sure that if it could even, because there's so much competition today, and it's a whole different way of working. I'm not sure."
But that's a fairy tale.
It is a fairy tale, definitely a fairy tale.
I mean, you know, it's like you can't. Like today, it'd be Simon Cowell would be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I said it's the story they make movies about, you know, and it was just.
Why haven't they made
incredible
the Shirley Jones story yet?
Well, I don't know.
That's the story.
Yeah, you're right. That is the
What do
story.
you want to play you?
You know,
Who's going to play you
it's
in the movie?
funny. I don't know who would play me in the movie.
Not Britney Spears.
Let me think. Gwyneth Paltrow. She's wonderful.
Gwyneth Paltrow apparently prenatally kicked Ken Howard during an interview
Really?
with him and Blythe Danner, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh,
he's afraid of her foot.
that's funny.
A lot of prenatal talent
Yeah,
out there.
exactly.
Wow. So what are some of your favorite experiences doing 38 movies? What are some
Well, I had some wonderful, you know, we talked earlier, I'm a movie fan. I mean, I grew up being an only child. We had this little theater in our little town of Smithton, you know, population 800 people, and we only had movies on weekends, and we'd had double features, and I would go every weekend and sit through every movie there was, you know. So to then start out at age 18 making motion pictures was really an incredible experience for me. It was tougher than I ever thought it would be. You know, Oklahoma, by the way, we made it in Nogales, Arizona. We didn't make it in Oklahoma because Oklahoma was too built up. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to plant the cornfield. They built the house. They built the thing that Judd sits in, the little, you know, cabin there, and everything was real. I mean, we had no set really. Everything was real because this was Rogers and Hammerstein's own production. You know, they didn't give it to a studio. This was their baby, and they wanted to do it themselves. They wanted to film it themselves. We did some filming at MGM when we came back, but it was their production. They had their own press agent. They had their own everybody, and it was also done in Todd AO, you know, with Michael Todd. So we did it in 2 separate processes as well. So it was 9 months on location in Nogales, and it was 15-hour days, 7 days a week. That's before the unions came in and said actors can't work that long.
Well, then it would have taken a year and a half after that.
That's right, exactly. So that's how long we were there. So, I mean, as excited as I was and thrilled as I was, and thrilled to be working, by the way, with Fred Zinnemann, who was an incredible director. For me, for the first time out, to have a director like him, it really was the best thing that ever happened because he was an actor's director. And I went on to work with some of the other directors in Hollywood that were not actors directors. So he was great, and I felt very fortunate. But 9 months of 15-hour days, I thought, do I really want to do this? I mean, do I really want to be in this business? This is not glamorous Hollywood that I was told it was going to be. This is hard work, you know. And it's true. I mean, I came, and then I went on a whole press tour after that. And then I was under personal contract to Rogers and Hammerstein. They put me under a 5-year contract. I was the first and last, only person ever under contract to them. Then under the contract, after I did the movie and did the press junket, they had a stage production going to Europe. And Ruben Mamoulian, who was the original director of Oklahoma on the stage in New York, was going to be the director of this production. And my leading man was Jack Cassidy, playing Curly. And that's how we met.
Wow.
and we went to Paris and Rome, and I got to work not only with, as I said, Fred Zinnemann for the film, but the original director, Mamoulian, in the stage production afterwards. I really wished I had worked with him before, because I learned a lot from that man, you know. He was great, and of course I met, you know, the love of my life, Jack Cassidy, playing Curly. It was great. We had a wonderful time. So it was a great time.
That's our show for today. When we conclude, Shirley Jones and I talk some more about Jack Cassidy, the love of her life, and goes on tour in Europe. Also, how she met her husband, Marty Engels, working with Drew Carey, the Love Boat, and going on location. Till then, your mission. What was your favorite episode of the Partridge Family? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe, support my Patreon campaign, watch Ask Them Yourself live, weeknights at 9 Eastern, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't miss Ask Them Yourself, a live version of Pop Goes the Culture where you can be part of the conversation via Skype or FaceTime.